I'm Jen.
I'm Angie.
I'm Marge.
Today we just did a little traveling around Iowa. We're up in the Waterloo area today, and we went to several locations where they had unsolved crimes, and is that right? Unsolved crimes? Okay. To see what we could pick up and what kind of energy we felt. And I'm going to go ahead and let Marge explain where we went, and then fill you in on what we picked up.
Okay, our first stop was Oakland Mills, Iowa. It is now a state park, but it was formerly an old mill that people would bring their grain either down the river or across an old wooden bridge. And above the river, there is a very old cemetery that was established in the mid-1800s. There is a newer part of the cemetery and an older part of the cemetery. And we visited Oakland Mills Cemetery first today. And I really didn't give Jen or Ange any information on the cemetery at all. I have been visiting that place for about 40 years, but I wanted them to form their own opinions, and they sure did, and it was interesting to see that they saw and felt the same things in the cemetery that I have experienced for the last 40 years, and I will let them tell you about that.
Now, when we went through the cemetery, part of the cemetery had a really good feel to it. And then when you got in towards the back of the cemetery, you just kind of wound around until you got to the back of the cemetery. We picked up on an older gentleman who walked kind of hunched over, and he walked with a cane, or appeared to walk with a cane, not because he was handicapped, but more that he wasn't able to stand up straight. And as far as why he was there and what he was doing, that part, I don't know. But it was very obvious that there was a spirit there. You could really feel that. And what I found interesting is that we all picked up on the same description of the person, right down to the way he presented his body. And I don't know, what do you think?
Well, the first spirit I picked up on was a gentleman sitting over watching everybody. And then as I got further back, it was one row behind, I was told not to go past this tombstone. So I told Jen, don't go past that particular tombstone. She listened and headed back up the hill. I didn't so much listen, and I went against my better wishes and continued to move past it, and he got angry. The wind came up very abruptly, and so I moved away from it immediately after I got back to my boundaries. The wind died down. Now, as I was walking over, there's a wooded area in the cemetery. I started hearing a door squeak. And you could tell he was walking back there, and he's closing the squeaky door, but there's no other explanation for what was going on there today.
The first time I ever saw that particular entity, the older man that walked with a hunch, wore a hat and a dark coat, I was probably 15, maybe 16 years old, and I've seen him several times in the last 40 years, so it was very interesting to me, without giving Jen or Ange any information, that they could definitely describe the man that I've seen, over the last 40 years in that cemetery.
Now, we went to another location, and was that the Dyson, or Dysart?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Jackie Dosart. We went to another location. It's a railroad bridge on the Henry Jefferson County line. There was a young lady, probably 5 years ago who went missing. And almost a year to the day that she went missing they found 2 young boys found a skull. Her mother had hired a psychic, and the psychic said that she was hanging by one arm from a jungle gym, that she fell from that jungle gym, she was deceased, and she was near a leprechaun's pot of gold. 2 young boys on St. Patrick's Day, a year later, found her skull. And I believe the jungle gym that the psychic was speaking of was actually the train bridge. And Jen also picked up that in probably the 1960s or 50s, she said, something else happened there, and that is true. A man shot his wife and her lover dead at that railroad bridge, and Jen picked up on a whole lot of it, and I had completely forgot about that until she started talking about it. And then we confirmed with my brother that that was the place, and yes, that was true.
Well, what was odd about that is that when we were going through and we were talking about
Jackie.
Jackie, and I told her, I said, the railroad ties that are on the bridge, I said, those aren't the same ones that are on there now. They're not facing the same direction. They were supposed to be facing across the bridge rather than, let me see how to word that.
At a curve.
At a curve rather than just across the bridge. And how did I say that?
You're right.
All right. So when I saw that, I was picturing that the woman had fallen. She had stepped in like a hole in between the railroad ties, and she fell, and she came running across the bridge and went under the bridge. Well, in turn, the issue is I was picking up on the woman that was with her husband and the lover, that I was picking up on, and that she was actually running away from that to try and escape from being shot by her husband. So with that one impressed me, just because I told Marge, I said, you know, then I don't think we're talking about the same case.
Right.
I think there's something else happened here, because I didn't pick up on the girl, I picked up on the woman that was running across the bridge. So do you have anything to add?
I picked up on the girl hanging from the crown of that bridge when you were going into it, but I didn't pick up on your couple.
So that requires more investigation.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to do that one. And we'd like to actually get pictures. I think it would be really cool to compare the pictures and the images that we picked up while we were out there, just to see if they match up. I think that would be really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And we also investigated the ditch girl of Gibson Park, and there was a lot of energy there, but I think there's so much history with that rural area that everyone was picking up on different energy, and usually the ditch girl isn't seen until late at night, wee hours of the morning, but we're definitely going to investigate that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that one really...
Lots of different energies there. So, and we're thinking something from as early as the 1950s and 60s also happened there. Ange was picking up on a vibe that a recent murder may have happened there. So that one's going to be really interesting to investigate, I think. Yeah.
And see, with that one I picked up that there was the woman in the car, and then there was 4 men that were that I saw running around the car after the car came to a stop. So, you know,
Yeah.
without giving away too much, that one was interesting because we got the feeling that we could actually see the car rolling down the hill. Now, whether we're actually seeing that, who knows? But I guess that'll all be determined later when we do our investigation. So it's always fun to do a walkthrough and just kind of see what energy that you pick up. So if you like, please subscribe, and we'll be talking again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.